Step back, kid, or I'll cuff you right here. That voice cut through the warm Saturday air like broken glass. A police cruiser gleamed under the sun, its bumper barely nicked, but you'd think the world was ending from the way Officer Mark Hanley loomed over the little girl in front of him. She couldn't have been more than 8, standing there in a bright yellow sundress, her bike tipped over beside her. Her big brown eyes were wide with fear tears streaking down her cheeks, while a growing crowd circled around, frozen, unsure if they should intervene. Mark's hand hovered near his belt, his voice dripping with contempt. Nobody's coming to save you, sweetheart. Nobody cares about kids like you in this town. She tried to speak, but her voice cracked. My, my mommy's coming. She'll pay for the scratch. She's in the military. He let out a bark of laughter that turned heads. The military? What is she flipping burgers on base? I've seen your type. Always lying, always pretending to be something you're not. People shifted uncomfortably, but no one stepped forward. The little girl clenched her fists, her chin trembling, and shouted through her sobs, "She's in special forces. She's coming at 3. That only made him laugh harder. Special forces, he sneered, crouching to her eye level. Sure, kid, and I'm the President of the United States. His voice was so loud, the carousel music seemed to fade. Across the festival grounds, families ate funnel cake and watched their kids on rides, unaware that here, under the fluttering bunting and smell of barbecue, a man with a badge was tearing down a child's spirit. Her name was Naomi Carter. She'd been counting the hours all week for this day because her mom, Major Danielle Carter, rarely got a Saturday off. Naomi had been dropped off by her neighbor at 2 o'clock sharp, given $20 and a hug, and told to wait near the main stage. She rode a few rides, bought some cotton candy, and at 2:30 decided to pedal her little pink bike around to burn off some nervous energy. That's when she clipped the corner of Hanley's parked cruiser. A normal adult would have checked if she was okay. Mark Hanley wasn't normal. 15 years on the force had turned him into a man who thought suspicion was instinct, not bias. He saw the scratch, saw Naomi's brown skin in this mostly white neighborhood, and his mind filled in the rest. "You don't belong here," he said, as she cried, clutching the handlebars. "Tell me where your real guardian is. I'm about to take you somewhere they know how to deal with kids like you." She sniffled. "She's coming," she promised. Promises don't mean much when you're lying. By now, dozens of people had gathered. Couples whispered, parents clutched their kids tighter. No one spoke up. Hanley puffed up his chest, playing to the crowd, already convinced he was dealing with a problem kid. He radioed for backup. Unit 12 requesting assistance. Possible abandonment case. Minor in custody. Naomi froze at those words. Abandoned. Custody. She wasn't in trouble, was she? She just scratched a car. She fumbled for her flip phone, her small fingers shaking as she dialed. It rang 4 times before her mom's confident voice came through. "You've reached Major Danielle Carter. Leave a message." Hanley threw his head back in laughter. "Major, you hear that? Now she's promoting her imaginary mama. That's cute." Even Officer Brian Lewis, the younger cop who arrived minutes later, looked uneasy. "She's 8, Mark," he murmured. "Maybe just wait for the mom. You questioning me?" Hanley snapped loud enough for the crowd to hear. "I've been doing this 15 years. I know when a kid's lying." Naomi called again and again, but it went straight to voicemail. Her stomach sank. Her mother was never late. Never. She whispered to herself. "She's coming," she promised. Hanley knelt down close, his breath hot and mean. Sweetheart heroes don't leave their kids alone at festivals. Urban families like yours, you just don't get how things work here. The word urban landed like a slap. A woman in the crowd gasped, whispering to her husband, "Shouldn't we do something?" He shook his head. "Not our business." Naomi sat on the curb, hands in her lap, staring at the ground. The world felt heavy. For the first time, doubt crept in. Maybe no one would believe her. Maybe nobody ever would. And then they heard it. A low, powerful engine hum cut through the chatter. A sleek black SUV rolled into the lot, government plates glinting in the sun. Hanley smirked, convinced it was social services. "See that kid? That's your ride. They'll take real good care of you where you're going." Naomi's head shot up. Her expression shifted, fear melting into something else entirely. Recognition. Hope. The driver's door opened. A pair of polished combat boots hit the pavement. Not just boots, boots that had walked through sandstorms and hostile territory. Boots that commanded respect in rooms filled with generals. The crowd fell silent. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. The boots moved with purpose, followed by a sharply pressed dress, blues ribbons glinting in the sun. Hanley straightened his posture, puffing out his chest, trying to maintain control. "Ma'am," he called out without looking, "we've got a minor here abandonment situation. Mother's claims about military service are fabricated." His voice faltered as she stepped into view. Major Danielle Carter stood tall, her uniform crisp, every decoration perfectly placed. A bronze star, a purple heart, a special forces tab. Her expression was calm, but her eyes scanned the scene with deadly precision. "Officer Hanley," she said, reading his name tag with icy composure. "I'm Major Carter, base commander at Fort Lincoln." "Why is my daughter sitting on the curb surrounded by officers?" Hanley stammered. "Ma'am, she scratched my vehicle. No proof of identity claimed." "Special forces." Danielle's voice stayed level. "You expected an 8-year-old to carry classified documents to a community festival. That justifies this." She gestured to Naomi, still trembling. Brian Lewis shifted uncomfortably, finally stepping forward. "Ma'am, this isn't protocol." "None of it," Hanley flushed red. "I didn't know who you were, that's the problem." She cut him off. Rank and skin color shouldn't determine whether a child is treated with dignity. She took a step closer, and the officer actually stepped back. The tension snapped like a live wire. Danielle's words cut with surgical precision. "You called my daughter a liar. You mocked her family. You used slurs in front of a crowd. Did you threaten to arrest her over a scratch you can barely see?" Hanley's mouth opened, then closed. Sweat beaded on his forehead. The crowd murmured, voices rising now with anger, not fear. A man shouted, "We heard everything." Others nodded. Phones were out recording. Danielle turned to Lewis. "Get your captain. Now." Minutes later, Captain Harris strode in, his expression darkening when he saw Danielle. "Major Carter, what is going on here?" She calmly recounted the entire ordeal. 50 witnesses and a shaking partner backed her story. The captain's voice was cold steel, Hanley badge and weapon. "You're suspended effective immediately." Gasp rippled through the crowd as Hanley fumbled with his gear. Danielle crouched, her voice soft now. "Baby, I'm so sorry. Mommy's here." Naomi collapsed into her arms, sobbing into the metals on her chest. "I told him you were real," she whispered. Danielle kissed her forehead. "You were so brave, sweet girl." One by one, people approached to apologize. An older veteran leaned on his cane, voice heavy with shame. "Little lady, I should have stood up for you. What you showed today, that's courage." A teenage boy admitted he'd filmed instead of helping. "I deleted it. I'll do better next time." Danielle looked at them, her gaze steady. "Then let this be a lesson. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what's right even when you're scared." Soon, festival organizers handed her a microphone. She stood on the main stage, Naomi by her side, and her words carried across the silent crowd. "I've been to war zones, briefed generals, commanded soldiers. But today, I saw an 8-year-old show more courage than many adults ever will. This isn't about one bad cop. It's about every time we see injustice and stay quiet. Next time, don't wait for a uniform or a title. Stand up. Speak out." Applause erupted. Not polite clapping, thunderous, sustained applause that shook the rides and echoed through the park. That night, Naomi and her mom rode the Ferris wheel, her head resting on Danielle's shoulder as the sunset painted the sky gold. For the first time all day, Naomi smiled, pointing out over the crowd. "They're all looking at you, Mommy." Danielle hugged her tighter. "No, sweetheart, they're looking at you. You're the hero today." Months later, the town was different. Officer Hanley never patrolled there again. The department rewrote its policies, created a community relations unit led by Lewis, and started training sessions on bias and intervention. Every year, Danielle and Naomi returned to that festival, not as victims, but as a reminder of what happens when one voice speaks up and when courage is contagious. I want to ask you something. If you were in that crowd, would you have stepped in, Or would you have stayed silent, letting a child face cruelty alone? Drop your thoughts in the comments because stories like this aren't rare, and what you do next time might change a life.